good evening, everybody. Welcome to the May 19th regular Board of Education meeting. I'm joined tonight by Superintendent Beyer, and we have two members of the Inner City Student Council. Would you please introduce yourself?
I'm Chanel Leopold from Preble High School.
I'm Katie Hansen from Green Bay East High School.
Welcome. And as we navigate the meeting, please feel comfortable interjecting and commenting and participating. Right. Next, roll call, please. Kinsey?
Becker,
Here.
McCoy,
Here.
Lyerly,
Here.
Gerlach,
Here.
Minnow,
Here.
Cannell.
Here.
All right. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would someone please read our mission statement? Laura?
We educate all students to be college, career, and community ready, inspired to succeed in our diverse world.
Thank you. I will proceed with the land acknowledgement statement. We, the members of the Green Bay Public School District, recognize and honor the original inhabitants of Northeast Wisconsin. Our district lives, works, and learns upon the ancestral homelands of the Menominee and the Ho-Chunk nations and the current homeland of Oneida Nation. We acknowledge the 12 diverse and vibrant Wisconsin First Nations who have persevered here since before recorded time and continue to be integral parts of our community. We uphold our responsibility to repair relationships, initiate partnerships, and stand with all First Nation communities. All right, we'll go to the open forum session, and we'll start with the Intercity Student Council report.
Starting off from good news from East, we had the play that went wrong was successful and received lots of positive community feedback. Two athletes took conference titles in track and broke multiple school records. School basketball, baseball, golf, and tennis seasons are in progress and doing well. We gave over $679,000 in scholarships this year. Eric Brito received a $325,000 scholarship from a private college. Our Earth Day cleanup went well. Our greenhouse is fully sold out from their plant cell. We celebrated a successful Teacher Appreciation Week with special treats for teachers each day of the week. NHS has several new inductees. Senior Send-Off Spirit Week is off to a good start. Junior Prom fundraising is in the works. Our Academic and Community Service Awards rolled out, and our Spring Band concert went well.
From JADAL, students visited Treats for Tomorrow last weekend. Students also attended a hiring fair with over 25 businesses. At Preble, our varsity esports headed to state last weekend. Our softball team is currently enjoying a 23-0 record. 7 athletes within our boys and girls track team have recently moved up within the top 10 for school records within their events. Last month, HOSA competed at state and 5 students qualified for internationals. Last week, we honored our students who are going into the armed forces with a recognition ceremony. We have 10 students from the class of 2025 who will be serving our country. Last weekend, we hosted a 5K run to support mental health awareness. Last weekend, we had a successful showing up for spring play, Kodak Chrome. Our spring athletic signing day was last week. 7 students were recognized from the sports of softball, soccer, cross country, basketball, and swimming. We hosted a spring choir concert last week. We are excited that our school choir program is growing next year, and we will be adding an additional choir due to student interest. We celebrated our second annual Be Kind Week the first week of May. 11 Preble students participated in the Honors Orchestra concert. Senior Ball was last week Friday at the Riverside. This week we'll have our last formal band concert and music awards this week, where we will induct new members of Triumph, and we have our NHS induction next week.
From Southwest, 1 individual advanced to HOSA Nationals and 7 went to state. NHS has 36 new inductees. The Music Awards banquet last week and the annual Ultimate Frisbee game Band and orchestra will have their concert makeup on Wednesday. Solo and ensemble state chamber orchestra scored a 1 ranking as well as many other students. Spring Fling Week was successful. Patrick O'Brien Art Gallery opening and dedication. 2 seniors were honored with the WIA Scholar Athlete Award. The Pulsera project was successful. 9 students made it to nationals for National History Day and are planning to compete in June. The greenhouse is open and doing well. Scholarship night is tonight. Prom and senior bell were successful as well.
And then from West, NHS inducted 7 new members on April 17th. 8th grade transition night was on April 30th. Senior Ephraim Brogan went to second team for the Metro Math League. Band concert was on the 14th. Choir and orchestra concerts today at 7 p.m. Governor Tony Evers visited West Bay Link program yesterday. Our greenhouse had a grand opening. Field day was today, May 19th, during lunch periods. NHS will hold a kiddie carnival for second graders of Lincoln and Chapel Elementary on May 22nd. Senior awards are taking place this Wednesday, and then 1 student participated in National History Day.
There's a lot going on. I love spring. Wow. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to go on to public comments. If you have the desire to speak and have not given me a pink slip, please come forward now. If not, I'll continue. So first up, Katie Gentry. Come to the microphone at the podium. Please state your name, your address, and then you have 5 minutes. Just a second, wait till she gives you the mic.
So I'm here in light of recent news. We did have someone resign from the board due to,
Yes. Okay, hang on a second. Please state your name and address, and then you can start.
my name is Katie Gentry. I live at 511 Green Avenue.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So good evening. My name is Katie, and I want to thank you for your time and service to our schools, everyone. Actually, our newcomers right over here who won in the spring election. I didn't come here tonight to call for sweeping changes, but I did come here with a concern. Like many others in the community, I was disappointed to learn that a school board member who was not eligible to serve remained in their position for over a year. More concerning, though, is the fact that this issue was reportedly brought to the board's attention back in March, and it was only addressed after it became public through the Press Gazette. That delay has understandably shaken some people's trust in the process. As someone who ran for school board, I know firsthand the commitment that it takes to do such a thing. Put yourself out there for the sake of your students, and you invest your heart, your time, and your energy into running. It's a lot of work, and then you believe in the process, right? We believe in free and fair elections. We believe in democracy. And when you find out that the process might have not been as fair or transparent as it could have it really makes you feel like perhaps there are some gaps that could be closed. I'm not here in anger. I'm not here to accuse anyone of anything, but I'm here as a parent. I'm here as a community member, and I'm here as over 15,000 people would have liked me to have been sitting in one of those places. And considering how things went, I believe perhaps I should be. I just really hope that you all take the time to consider some steps moving forward and make sure this doesn't ever happen again.
I need to ask a clarifying question. Did you know that it actually had been addressed by the board?
On May 8th, correct?
No, before that.
Prior to that. When was that addressed?
I'm not going to get into back and forth right now, but the truth is that it was addressed by various individuals on a number of occasions in various ways. So I just wanted to know if you were aware of any of those at all.
Why was nothing ever done about it though?
So we're not agended for this item, so let's not address. So if we don't have something on the agenda, we should not be engaging with speakers. So I apologize, but Laura?
I was asking a clarifying question.
Okay.
I mean, it seems very convenient that there's evidence that this was brought to the board's attention back in March and it wasn't actually, and nothing was done about it or addressed with Mr. Lee in particular and post-election time. And when the Press Gazette made it all public, when it was private information, it was just kept between the board. When it became public information, then, oh my goodness, we need to do something about it.
Sorry, we can't engage. It's not agended, so,
It's okay.
okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next is Jessica Henderson.
Hello, my name is Jessica Henderson. I live at 819 Doty Street in Green Bay. And first of all, thank you guys all for your dedication to the students and of Green Bay. I'm a proud mother of 2 graduates in the last couple of years. So I just wanted to kind of tag on to what Katie said. I just kind of, and I suppose you won't be able to answer this because it's not on the agenda, but I'm interested to know what board members knew that Mr. Lee did not live in the district and when was they knew.
Okay,
Okay,
all right,
thank you.
thank you. Next is Madeline Vasiliev, if I said that correctly. Oh, I'm sorry, these were out of order. Would you like Eric to go first? Yeah, I apologize. Actually, I just pulled 2. So Eric, please give us your name and address.
My name is Eric Joswicki. For the sake of humor, I'll say I really live in Green Bay. My address is 632 South Roosevelt, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 54301. Those of you that have heard me speak before, when there have been some controversial things about a previous superintendent, no, I'm not out for anybody's heads, okay? I want to preface that from the beginning, because I don't believe in politics like that. I would like to give a general admonition, okay? I understand you can't engage. I do think it is of the public's best interest to make an effort to show retroactive transparency, to put out everything you knew, when you knew it, what you did. Again, I understand you can't engage, but I do believe, as a reputable newspaper once said, democracy dies in darkness. And a lot of people's ability to be confident in the process. I called for an individual from the Republican Party to be kicked out of office over misconduct and trying to fill a seat when he did not live in a district. So I think turnabout is fair play here. We do owe it to give the public confidence, and especially with as tenuous as our democracy is, anything we can do here to restore confidence, I think is time and effort well spent. Again, I respect it's on the agenda, but I know you can hear an admonition that is not given as a stab in the back, but just as a request. And I do hope that anybody who did know that maybe regrets not being more outspoken, hey, come forward. You know, we have forgiven far worse sins in the past. And so that would go a long way to restoring trust. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, now Madeline.
Hello, I'm Madeline Vasiliev. I live at 1121 Grignon Street. I'm the mother of a toddler, and while we don't currently attend the Green Bay area public schools, as someone who grew up in her parents' store in downtown Green Bay that served the people of Green Bay for over 60 years, I have a vested interest in this town. I love and I care about its people, and I think it's only fair that I speak on behalf of them. People before me raised some interesting questions I do think that deserve to be answered. And since no one on the board will give them an answer, and you decided to keep the issue of Mr. Lee off the agenda because you're too cowardly to answer these questions, I believe I can shed some light here this evening. I have an email here from a concerned citizen that was sent on March 11th, 2025. It was sent to James Lyerly, Andrew Becker, Clerk Brian Mills, Rick Crossan, Lynn Gerlach, Cooley, Green Bay Area Public School District Legal Counsel Melissa Thiel Collar, Associate Superintendent David Johns, Superintendent Vicki Bear, and since the General Board of Education email was included, it was also sent to Laura McCoy. This is what it says. Hello, I was recently made aware that the current board member, Cooley, is not a resident of Green Bay, as required by the district. He lives in Hobart. Please see attachment. This is grounds for immediate removal from the board if he does not resign. As a parent of the child in the school district, I would like to know how this will be addressed. And what was your response? Silence. The attachment, property record showing Mr. Lee's address being in Hobart. A quick count shows us that this email was sent by this parent 21 days before the election. So not only was the entire school board aware of this, your legal counsel was aware of this, your superintendent and vice superintendent were aware, and you chose to do nothing. You ignored this, you decided to sweep it under the rug, and because of that, everyone who is on the school board prior to April 1st is complicit in this. Effectively, you interfered with the election on April 1st, defrauding 92,000 people who voted for the school board on the election day or prior because you knew that seat should be empty. Mr. Lyerly, you were quoted as saying, neither I as board president nor any other member of the board nor the board as a body has the authority to initiate an investigation to determine the facts or forcibly remove any board member from the Board of Education. However, any district resident can file a complaint to request an investigation that includes board members, that includes all of you in this room. Instead of investigation, we got weak leadership, deflection, and an excuse by you, Mr. Lyerly. I myself, a mother of a toddler, was able to enter Cooley's information, and within 5 minutes, I confirmed from CCAP court records that Cooley's primary residence is outside of Green Bay. Then I cross-referenced that with GIS and Zillow to confirm that his designated school district was in Pulaski. A quick search provided the fact that he was registered to vote in Hobart at his residence as of March 31st, 2025. If I can do this in 5 minutes with a toddler running around, anyone in this room or on this school board could have done this. Google is a free tool, and I know your computer literacy is not so archaic that you could not do the same. Seeing as you are all made aware of this and chose to do nothing about it, how can we, as residents, have faith that you are qualified to appoint Koo's replacement? How does this give me faith that when my son enters kindergarten in a few years, I am making the right choice to send him to the Green Bay Public Schools when you are making decisions? You have over 18,000 students under your instruction. 3,700 teachers are employed with you. You are representing a district of over 100,000 residents. You have a budget of $311 million. You made decisions in this past school year to close schools with a member who is illegally on the board, voting on decisions that impacted those 18,000 students, their parents, their teachers, and ultimately the entirety of Green Bay, and you decided to do nothing about it. With that being said, I think it's only fair if the members who are on the school board, who are listed in the email chain, I think you need to resign immediately. You have lost our trust, you have lost our respect, and you do not deserve to be sitting in any of those chairs making decisions for our children, and you need to step down. I have copies of the email for any of the press here and for anyone in the room who would like to read them. Thank you.
All right, next, Scott Millhauser.
If I could, I'm just gonna hand these out. If you'd like to follow along with what I have.
Okay.
You're welcome. Oh, wait, I have that backwards. Thank you. My name is Scott Millhauser. I reside at 2000 Johnson Drive in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Good evening, members of the board, parents, neighbors, and members of the community. I come before you tonight not just as a concerned citizen, but as a parent, grandparent, and someone who believes deeply in the values we claim to teach our children every single day: honesty, fairness, and integrity. Right now, this district is failing to live up to those values. One of your fellow board members, who has now resigned, submitted a false address on his declaration of candidacy. That is a clear violation of state law, which requires candidates to live in the district for at least 28 days prior to filing. That law exists to ensure that those representing our children and making decisions on their behalf are truly part of the community they serve. I personally spoke to the homeowner on Enderby Lane duplex listed on the declaration of candidacy form. They told me directly, I do not know him, he has never lived here, and I've never met him. At the same time, this board member has paid property taxes on his home outside of the district. I've spoken with neighbors in that community who confirm he and his family live there continuously for about 10 years, and that his children are bused to a school in the district the family resides in and have paid property taxes on that property since at least 2015. This was not an accident. This was not confusion. This was fraud. And yet, despite that, while every other candidate's nomination papers were made available to the public, this board member's nomination papers are nowhere to be found. Nowhere. That alone should be enough to raise questions about what is being hidden and why. To make matters worse, we know that there are serious allegations that the city clerk was informed of this residency issue shortly after the election and did nothing. Mr. Lee went on to take the oath of office, was seated and represented this district, that he did not legally reside in, for over a year before truth came to light. Even more troubling, there are others here tonight who will make credible claims that members of this very board were and said nothing. And I refer to the School District of Green Bay Board of Education Policy Code 161, Article 2, Section B, receiving, investigating, and resolving complaints. And it states, if an individual board member receives a complaint or other communication from a student, parent, or guardian, district employee, or other person that appears to require further investigation on the part of the district and or that appears to call for a response from the district, the board member shall contact and refer the matter to the superintendent of schools in order to determine an appropriate response. If your knowledge of this is true, then every single board member who remains silent is complicit. You helped maintain a lie. You helped erode trust in our electoral process, and you sent a message to the public and to our children that corruption is acceptable as long as it's convenient. Now this board is tasked with appointing a replacement for the seat left vacant by this resignation. Let me be blunt. How can the community trust this board to appoint the right person, an honest resident of the district, if you lacked the integrity to address this issue when it first came to light? If the allegations are proven true and members of this board knew about the false residency and did nothing, then the only acceptable course of action is for every one of you to resign. This ability looks like. That is what setting an example for our children looks like. We the people are done accepting excuses. We the people are done tolerating silence, and we the people are done watching the rules be bent for some and strictly enforced for others. Election matters, integrity matters, and our children matter. They deserve to see adults who practice what they preach. They deserve to know what the truth still matters and our public institutions. We demand transparency, we demand accountability, and we demand that you do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Scott? Next, we have Elliot Christensen.
Hey guys, so I guess I share a lot of feelings with everybody that spoke.
Can you start with name and address? Thank you.
Don't you guys all know where I live? Jeez. Elliot Christensen, 2456 Heather Road.
Thank you.
Don't be creepy about it. So unlike some of the other people, I'm not calling for anybody to resign. I mean, we have 2 new members. They certainly didn't have anything to do with this anyway. So at least over this. I do think that the responsibility for this particular issue falls with the guy who did it. Knew what when. I don't even know that that necessarily matters unless there's irrefutable proof and something happens. It doesn't really matter. If I was asking for you to resign to be over the budget, over the last 3 superintendents and things like that, dropping test scores and whatnot. I guess the thing is we had a close election and I'd like you to strongly keep that in mind. Like Eric said, keep it very transparent. Don't go into closed session over everything. These things can be public. We all know they can. And strongly take into account the election, the vote that happened, because it probably should have all happened a little bit differently. Katie was within a couple hundred votes. I would really strongly encourage you to pick somebody that just came up short by a few hundred votes, who is a mom, is way nicer than me. Because honestly, like I'm holding back right now. But at least take that into account. Don't just, pick your favorite that's coming in the door, or based on some weird criteria. Pick who the voters wanted. That's really all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Alec. Next is Corey Borman.
Hi,
Hope-
Corey Bormans, 4326 Cobleskill Court, Hobart, Wisconsin. I have been traveling the state fighting for election integrity for the last 4.5 years. I can't tell you how disappointed I was to find out. I can't tell you how disappointed I was to find out I should have just been looking at my own local school boards. On May 8th, when the Green Bay Press Gazette article came out, I decided to try to learn who was responsible for verifying candidates' eligibility and asked on the Green Bay Area Public School website chat, who is the clerk for 2024? The answer I got was, the clerk in 2024 is Jeanette Cannell, who serves as the school board district for the Green Bay Area Public District. My understanding is Jeanette was only elected on 4/2/25. So how was she the clerk in 2024? Maybe the chat was misinformed me. Nevertheless, it's important to voter confidence that candidates' declaration of candidacy forms are properly verified. Mr. Lee signed his document declaring, I quote, "At the time of filing this document, I will meet the applicable age, citizenship, residency, and voting qualification requirements." In the Press Gazette article that came out today, it was pointed out that the board had received emails questioning Lee's residency in March of 2025, before the April 2nd election. Lyerly said, this is in quotes, he remembered that email, but stressed the board doesn't have any investigatory power, and he personally didn't believe the email provided enough information for him to submit an ethics complaint. He continued, moving forward, there won't be any changes made to have candidates to verify their addresses. It's not the board's role to verify candidates' eligibility for office, he said, adding that information is provided under penalty of law. I hope you'll reconsider that, and you will ask your clerk to do the verification for the people's voter confidence. Didn't the public deserve to know? I remind you, this was before the election. How many on this board knew? I know some of you are new, but many of you aren't. Did Mr. Lee misunderstand what he was signing? Was he misinformed? Was this simply overlooked? Is the school board district clerk, the Green Bay City Clerk Celestine Jeffries, or is the Wisconsin Elections Commission responsible to verify eligibility? I've been unable to determine that as of yet. Is it criminal? I don't know. I believe it is. That's up to law enforcement and the district attorney to decide. It recently came to my attention that at this year's inauguration of the new members, Mr. Lee was asked to take the role as the clerk, but noted he felt it was important that the position be someone that had completed a term. He had served a full year as a board member, and certainly that would qualify him over Jeanette Cannell, who had maybe 10 minutes on the board at that time. The part in the article that really caught my attention was when I read in the May 8th article, in quotes, Lee didn't vote in his April 2024 election, though he was on the ballot. Let that sink in. I immediately wondered, Why would he collect nomination signatures and ask the voters of Green Bay to vote for him? Why wouldn't he actually cast a vote for himself? I can't imagine why he would not actually vote for himself. Pridefully. The article ended telling us that all other current incoming Green Bay School Board members have voted at the addresses that they listed on their declarations of candidacy, according to voter registration nonprofit vote ref. This inspired me to look at his nomination papers to see who took the time to sign his nomination papers. Maybe I'd find he had voters' confidence by seeing his friends, families, and neighbors supporting him. And I wondered how they would feel if they knew he never casted a vote. So I did a little research and I found that his nomination papers are not listed as all the other candidates are. This causes me to pause and wonder if he did not have proper identification to prove he could vote in Green Bay, so he simply didn't. Not a good look as a member of the school board. And brings this decision-making abilities into question as a member of the board. Our Constitution gives citizens the right to vote, and our veterans have given their lives to defend our Constitution. And I know there's a lot of questions in here for you, and I hope you will consider some of these questions that I and others have brought when you decide how you're going to move forward on this. Do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the requests for public speaking I have. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close the floor and move on. So we'll start with discussion and we'll move to the superintendent update.
Thank you. This is the last update for the school year, so I apologize in advance. It's a bit lengthy. As you noted earlier, there's a lot going on this spring. And the new ICSC president, you and I are going to share similar information just on a few things, okay? Congratulations, by the way. Okay. The month kicked off with recognition. Mr. Scott Christie, who is a retired teacher, was recognized by the governor for the financial literacy teaching that he's done for the district over the years. And we like to take the time to recognize some of our retirees as well, especially because he was actually acknowledged because of the work he did for us. Did I do that or did you do that? Okay. As you know, the board voted to have the new West Side School named Star Elementary School. We have one of the committee members here tonight. Thank you for your work on that project. We were so blessed to have, as I told you, Bart Jr. came to the district maybe 2 weeks ago now. And the family is just thrilled to have this honor. We're going to work closely with Bart Sr.'s assistant to get some of his artifacts to have them displayed in the new school. May marked the end of our first ever Ambassador Academy. This group of people that are in this picture, and a few are missing, they dedicated 9 months out of their year to learn more about the district. And not only did they come in early to spend some time with us, they were great advocates and actually provided some really valuable feedback to me and the rest of the team throughout the school year. We appreciated their time with us, and we're looking forward to next year's group. Oh, can we stay there a second? I'm sorry, on the bottom right, you recognize them. 3 of our inner city student council members actually served on a panel for the last Ambassador Academy presentation, and they were asked questions by the ambassadors. And their answers were phenomenal. And this particular question was, how do you feel about the poor publicity that the district often gets from the media? And Lydia Robinson, she's the young lady on the left in that bottom right picture.
She's a senior, she's graduating from East High School this year. Her response was, "Our students outshine our reputation." And I thought that was so beautiful. These are the kids that are in our schools every single day. They know it better than any of us. And her response was, "Our students outshine our reputation." I mean, these are our kids. This is what we're working for. And she's going to be a great leader someday. Thank you. Mr. Patrick O'Brien is a retired art teacher from Southwest High School. And last year, fellow art teacher John Taft approached Josh Patrick, who was our OO at the time, and said, "I have this idea to recognize Mr. O'Brien, OB is what they called him, and his talents, and I want to open an art gallery on his behalf." So they did it, recognizing student artwork on full display at Southwest High School on the second floor in an open area for the public to come and enjoy. That was kicked off about 3 weeks ago. Mr. Taft is the one smirking at me. He's in the front row on the left-hand side. He's currently an art teacher at Southwest. We have a lot of events going on as we celebrate the closing of the school year. This was the Jefferson Head Start Art Show. 2 teachers dedicated over 8 hours of evening time to put this art show together. And I have to tell you, board, I know some of you got over there. Lynn was over there. The feel in the building was as if it were a real art gallery. The student artwork is amazing, and this is Head Start students. The way they had it set up, the parents had to be so proud. And I think all of you would have been proud too if you had the chance to see it. As the students mentioned, we celebrated the Baylink anniversary, 10-year anniversary now. Governor Evers came up specifically for this event to celebrate with us. Green Bay Howe Elementary Community School special education teacher, that's Jennifer Polly on the left-hand side. Jennifer was recently awarded the Educator Advocate of the Year award by Family Voices of Wisconsin. And on the right-hand side, that is Molly Anna Fisher. She was surprised. You can tell by the picture, she was quite surprised. Special education teacher over at Washington Middle School. She received the National HMH Education Award. 3 of our music teachers were recognized by the Recording Academy and Grammy Museum for the 2026 Music Educator Award. Congratulations to Kimberly, Emily, and Brandon. Brown County Volunteer and Education Award went to Dawn Esterling. She's on the left-hand side, and that's her family, and the principal at Langlade on the bottom left. David and I ran into them at the start of the school year. She and her family were outside Langlade Elementary. They had just as a family built one of those outdoor libraries, and it was filled with books. They had built it as a family, and they were putting it right outside Langlade Elementary front door for the community. Well deserved. She's an amazing woman. The students already mentioned Chloe Burton from West High School received the Youth Volunteer Award, and then the runner-up was Ellie Yang from East High School. Students giving back to their community. This is another example of our students giving back and being recognized. I had the honor of going last week to a chamber event where 5 of our students have participated this past school year in a youth leadership, teen leadership program. They had to coordinate their schedules with students from other districts in Brown County. These are sophomores. Majority of them do not have their driver's license yet. So they had to figure out how to do a team project with students from other school districts and have that come to culmination in April and present it to a group of adult leaders in the community. These students were amazing. 2 weeks ago, hosted leaders from Unbound Ed to support our equitable instruction framework. They ended up observing and providing feedback in 100 classrooms, David. David has more information and he will share that with the board in July when we give the academic update. The instructional framework equips our teachers, coaches, and administrators to deliver high quality instruction at every level so that all kids succeed and thrive. ICSC had their last quarterly meeting last Wednesday for the year. And as I mentioned, we have a new president. Do you know the other officers?
Paige Miller will be serving as our vice president, and then Damaris from West High School will be serving as our secretary.
We look forward to working with you next year, Madam President. Last week, we had our Student Success Awards. There are 2 times during the calendar year that we bring all of our schools together. The first is in August, and that's the kickoff, the Welcome Back celebration. And then our second is this time of year where we bring all of our schools together and celebrate a number of students in their schools. 80 students were recognized this year, and we celebrated over at Riverside. It was a great event. Ingrid Parker Hill is the one that she and her team coordinate both of those events for the district. We don't want to be a leadership team that just goes out to the community when we need something. So we are continuing our outreach into the community to talk about what's happening in the district, seek feedback, and on that track of continuous improvement. Last week, we again met with the Brown County Taxpayer Alliance and provided them with an update of the work that we've been doing in the district, talked budget a lot, and got their feedback. Almost done. Last week, I was invited to sit in a world language class at Preble High School. Miss Yonk had invited me, and it was in coordination with Kelly Voteva. They were highlighting the new world language resource, and I wanted to read to you the comment that the teacher shared. This resource is so relevant to students' everyday lives. The resource trainers and online seminars were so beneficial to my growth as an educator. This from Kelly and Angie from district office is unmatched. So this was an example of the relationship I want our teachers to have with central office staff, collaboration and supporting one another. Bridges Construction had their open house. They finished their house last week-ish. We have students from all of the high schools participating in that construction work. They've been working on that for over, well, this school year, and it came to completion last week. You are getting the first look at some data that we're going to be sharing soon. Again, this is a highlight of Green Bay Area Public School District. We collaborate with UWGB in the Gear Up Rising Phoenix program that allows our students the opportunity to get college credit before they even graduate high school. The preliminary numbers just for the 44 students in this program, the numbers are in. For those 44 students, they will graduate with 2,769 college credits. 44 of our kids. 30 of them will graduate with their associate's degree. Their average GPA in the college courses, 3.28. The average number of college credits earned per student, 62.93. Those are our kids. The community has a lot to be proud of. Those are our kids. I promise I'm almost done. Our education foundation last week awarded $35,000 to our teachers. Teachers submit their application for a project they want to do that exceeds our budget abilities. Education Foundation has a committee that looks through them and awards. And last week they surprised teachers with those awards. a reminder of our Hall of Fame. We want to continue to celebrate our alumni. There are amazing people that have graduated from this district, and we want to celebrate them. The date for the reception is October 11th. So we ask everyone to mark your calendars, 5 p.m. backstage at the Meyer. And then last one, here we go. We just left this celebration downstairs. Staff Recognition Awards. We acknowledged a handful of our educators that were recognized and nominated by their peers. It was a really nice celebration. And that's my report.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer. Okay, so we'll move on. We'll go to B, Clean Energy Advisory Committee update. Kale? Welcome.
Good evening. I have a brief update from our Clean Energy Committee monthly meeting that was held last week. Just a few highlights for you. First and foremost, the team had been working on a survey that will soon be going out to students, community, and families in regards of kind of identifying some next steps for that committee and guiding some of the, based off the recommendations that were given to the board in regards to the resolution to meet our clean energy goals. So these will be, as I stated in a previous meeting, adjacent to the goals of lowering our carbon footprint. A few other things, we continue to work with McKinstry, our engineering firm, to work on our electrification roadmap, finding opportunity to expand our solar footprint. And that work at some point will lead to opportunities for us to invest further into solar and help reduce that carbon footprint. We also have a guest next month, but we in the background have been working with Net Zero Pathways, which was a grant funded program that helped do some benchmarking, kind of telling us what kind of energy we're using and how efficient we are at 5 of our schools, and then also offering additional pathways to help reduce that carbon footprint. And then finally, we just concluded some updates. As a reminder to everyone, we are drilling geothermal wells at Star Elementary. We've invited that team to come view that, and then we are also working on opportunities for our students to learn about that process that's going on that site currently. Any questions?
Questions? Laura?
So I've just made a commitment to go by at least once a week that job site, because it's thrilling to watch the progress, even in 1 week. And those wells that are being drilled are really interesting. There's quite a lot of them. Like the guy I talked to over there there's like 100 maybe. And so I just recommend anybody who is over on the west side in the vicinity to go ahead and drive by and just see for yourself kind of what a large job site it is.
I will offer one note on that because I don't often get to do this, but they are well ahead of schedule in the well drilling, which is really exciting and great for our community and making sure we keep progress on that site.
Thank you, Cal. Any other discussion? Any other questions for Cal? Thank you, Cal. Next on the agenda is the legislative update, and that will be provided by Jeanette Cannell.
Okay, so my first time of doing this, so give me some grace if I mess up and you can give me some corrections, but I'm only going to report on the things that have changed since the last report was given at the last meeting. So Assembly Bill 2 and Senate Bill 29, requiring school boards to adopt policies to prohibit the use of wireless communication devices during instructional time. It has passed the Assembly already, and it is out of the Senate Education Committee and is available for scheduling with the Senate. So they haven't voted on it yet, but it is out of committee. The committee has recommended the Senate vote for it, so we'll keep an eye on that. Assembly Bill 5 and Senate Bill 22. It has passed the Assembly and the Senate committees. It passed the Senate Education Committee on May 16th. It passed through the Assembly, and now it is available for scheduling. These things happened, both the first one that I mentioned, Senate Bill 29, and now Senate Bill 22, passed out of committee onto the floor on May 16th. So we'll keep an eye on that one.
Jeanette, just, there are people in the room that do not
Oh.
have this in front of them. So as
Yes.
you say the Senate bill number, can you just give us a brief description of what that bill is? Thank you.
Yes, sorry. I did. Okay. Senate Bill 29 and Assembly Bill 2 requiring school boards to adopt policies to prohibit the use of wireless communication devices during instructional time. Assembly Bill 5, Senate Bill 22 is a curriculum transparency, requires school boards to honor any district's residents' written request to inspect textbooks, curricula, or instructional materials within 14 days of the request. That has passed the Assembly and has gone to the Senate Education Committee and was passed, and on May 16th is now available for scheduling on the floor. Okay, Assembly Bill 9, Senate Bill 11 is no longer in committee. As of May 16th, it passed the Senate Education Committee, and this is at a youth group's request. Public school principals must schedule at least one slot early each term, early chartered youth organizations such as Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts to present information to students on campus during class hours, promoting educational and civic engagement. These have not been passed into law yet. They're just going to be being brought up on the floor. Assembly Bill 32, Senate Bill 10, high school access for military recruiters. The Assembly, it's still in the Assembly Education Committee, but it has passed out of the Senate Education Committee on May 16th and is available for scheduling. And this bill requires public high schools to give military recruiters the same access to students as is given to post-secondary institutions or employers. Aims to ensure military recruiters can attend school career events or present information to interested students. And one more. Scrolling down here. No. That's it.
Any questions, discussion about the legislative update? All right, thank you, Jeanette. Okay, we're going to move to a discussion item around the Board of Education vacancy timeline. We have some hard copies to share around the table. Yeah. Is there? Okay, can I have one more? We do? Okay. No, we got it. And board members, I think you have a more detailed copy that I'm going to walk through just to make sure that everyone is understanding what the process is and the timing of that process. So today is May 19th. May 20th, we will post a notice for the vacancy. It'll be available on our website, official newspaper, social media, text messages, emails. We'll socialize it with community organizations. And there's a window that we'll receive applications between May 20th through June 3rd. So anyone that's interested in being on the board will submit an application, resume, cover letter, and think of it as a job application. And on June, at the same time, in parallel with that, board members, you have access to some questions that will be part of an interview process. We have until June 3rd to provide any edits or comments and make changes to those questions as we go through this. We will screen applicants based on their submitted applications on June 9th in a special board meeting after the work session, I think. Is it after or before? I don't know that we had that conversation. So we'll do it after the work session. So on June 9th, we'll go through and we have a process and board members, you have a link to a PowerPoint presentation that kind of lays out how we'll navigate that process on June 9th to go. And what we'll do is we'll take the number of applicants and we'll take it down to an interview panel and the number of candidates that we want to interview. And the interviews will be on June 16th. The interested candidates that are successful in getting an interview slot will be provided the questions in advance and will set an interview with us. And at the same meeting, we will then move to discussion and we'll move to vote and we will vote in an appointed member. Now it's interesting then that there are 2 years left of this term. So just to make sure, and Melissa, you can correct me if I say this wrong, the appointment is until the next spring election. So we will appoint a member. You will be an appointed member, but you'll, if you are interested in running for the board, the spring election, you'll have to run again. At that election, you will be running for the remainder of the term, which would be one additional year. No? Okay, sorry. Sort of, yeah, but
Hi.
okay,
Okay. Because the vacancy occurred after the spring election, but before the November election, and it's not the last term, they'll be appointed until the next spring election,
Correct.
and then there will be 3 vacancies. And so there will be 3 seats. The top 2 vote getters, so this person could be one of the top 2 vote
sorry,
getters,
right,
and they could get a 3-year term. The third vote getter, top vote getter, will fill out the remainder of that term, which will be 1 year.
correct.
And then that whoever has got that 1-year term would need to apply again. And if I could I just wanted to point out one other thing though. If that vacancy had occurred prior to the spring election in March,
Right,
then the individual would have been appointed as well by the board. And that individual would also have had to run April of 2026. So whether the vacancy occurred in March or after that April election, the same process would have applied. The board would be required pursuant to the law to appoint within 60 days. That person would serve until April of 2026 and then have to rerun again.
correct. Right,
Melissa?
corrections, yeah.
Melissa? So I just want to make it, I've been through this process. This will be the 4th time, but I just want to make it absolutely clear that this process is dictated by state law and district policy.
It's dictated by state law, which the board policy then puts the process together, but it has to be consistent with the state law. We don't get to decide a different process for filling the seat.
Other, Andrew,
I mean, the state says you must fill it within a certain number of days. And it does say that the board appoints. There are different ways that the board could choose to do it. We have an established one that we've been using.
Yeah, I guess my comment was if the vacancy would have occurred in March, it wouldn't have been filled by that April election. That's dictated by the law.
That would have had to have been all the way before November before it would be a different staggering.
Other questions or discussion? Andrew.
So why would we not offer the person at least the opportunity to begin immediately on June 23rd? Why are we saying they can't even take the oath of office till June 30th?
Melissa?
The law says that we have to wait 14 days from the selection for the person to take the oath of office. And that's also in board policy 133.
Laura?
What's the rationale behind that? Be nice to get someone seated as soon as possible, but that's unfortunate.
Andrew?
And then what why are we, not to be a party pooper here, but why are we not voting on this schedule? And if we're not voting on the schedule, by what authority are we opening that process tomorrow from the technical side of things?
Is there a reason why we have to action a schedule?
I've been through this 4 times as well, and I don't think the board has ever voted on the schedule. It really is just dictated by what the law says, that you have 60 days to fill the vacancy. And then this is the same, similar to the schedule for the other vacancies that the length of the opening, and then when you'll meet to consider the applicants.
Laura?
I'm going to assume some consideration as to keeping some of these meetings on Mondays, so that for convenience for board members and to keep, to partner them with other meetings as well.
Well, yes, except for June 16th. So that was going to be a discussion topic because that is a special board meeting that doesn't fit that. And everyone needs to check their schedules to make sure that we can have a quorum for June 16th. So please make sure that you would be available if there's a way that you can do that as quickly as possible, because we do want to post tomorrow and follow the schedule. 5. Andrew?
Okay, if I've in fact been part of this then and didn't insist on voting on it, I'm not gonna make a big deal of it. And I'm sure it would be 7-0, and I'm sure it would be very similar to this, and I don't think there's any reason to, for amendments here, but it does seem strange to not have there be a vote to start every step of the process. The board theoretically could have a little bit of room to try to go faster or wait, and that could be debated. I don't feel the need to, but I think we should for next time. There could have been, it would be pretty tricky, but an argument could have been made to try to compress this and get them started for June. But if there's that forced 14-day wait, then I guess that won't apply this time.
Other discussion or questions? Alex?
Just for clarification, that 14-day wait is not our district policy. That's a state law, you said, correct? Okay, so my one thought too, when I first read through the timeline, was a possibility of trying to move it up, but then the dates wouldn't help the next board meeting anyway, so.
Right. And when I look at the schedule, the most concerning interval for me is May 20th to June 3rd to give everyone, enough time to see the notices and make the application, because we want to make sure that we're not accelerating this so much and squeezing that amount of time there as well. So any other questions or concerns about the timeline? All right. So as of right now, I think we're good unless someone, if you have an issue with the 16th, please just reach out to me and we'll consider it. Okay. So next we have listed, and this might be sprung on two of our younger members at the board this evening, but we are contemplating changes to our wireless device, communication device policy. And we had a board member make a request to bring this back for discussion so that we could get some student input and get your take on what happens now and what you see as potentially some successful implementations. So if you have any comments, or Andrew, if you had any specific questions.
I would defer to hear from students first
Sure.
if they have anything.
So I've looked at the policy 3 times now since it's been sent to me, and it looks like it's just enforcing the idea that during instructional time, students shouldn't be on their phones and we should be paying attention in class. And I would say mostly at Preble, we already do this. We have phone pouches that we've implemented throughout different classrooms. So during class time, we put our phones in the pouches, or for some classes during tests, we put our phones in the pouches. Otherwise, students have their phones in their backpack, and if their phones are out, staff will come and take them from you.
I mean, it's only my second year. I know that each year I've been in high school, they've tried to be stricter about phones. East has a lot of bell to bell and out of sight policies, which I think are more strict and that they're implementing more, that they should be out of sight, not just not being on and not being on even after a lesson's over, even during work period, but bell to bell, only out during passing periods or lunch. That's the biggest change I've seen.
Thank you. Questions for the students? Jeanette.
So I just want to clarify, it sounds like you, at your schools, you're already doing what we've been discussing by students having to put their phones in the pouch. And I've seen this at Preble, and I've seen it at Southwest, and I've seen it at New Innovative Academy. In fact, there they actually lock them. So it doesn't sound like requiring this would be stressful to students. And am I hearing you correctly?
You are hearing us correctly. We're already not supposed to have our phones out during instructional time. So this policy really wouldn't change anything, I think, for students. They'll just be like, oh, so it's school board policy now, even though we already did it.
Other questions or discussion? Andrew?
Are there any problems or drawbacks with the policy?
From what I see, no. If you need to access your phone, my guess is you can ask any of the staff, and if it's an emergency, they'll let you use it. Or if you need to do something, staff are like, if it's work time, they're like, you can usually go on your phones if you're done with all your stuff. So it's just using it responsibly.
What's the policy for study halls at your schools? And we're speaking of you represent 2 schools between the 2 of you. So just there could be differences.
At Preble, I currently have 3 study halls, and I am allowed to use my phone whenever I please.
Yes, I think our study halls were allowed to go on our phones as well in the library or in a study hall room.
Questions? Alex?
Just curious about what your opinion would be as far as, do you think that all the rules regarding cell phone wireless devices should be uniform across all the schools? Or do you think there should be any differences, and why, if so?
I think at the end of the day, there should be like during a show time, you shouldn't be on your phones. How the schools choose to implement them is up to the teaching style within each classroom. So like at JADAL, they do project-based stuff. So maybe the cell phone policy there would be different depending if they need to use their phones to do research or if they need to like do interviews or stuff for their projects. NEW would probably have a different phone policy. Within special ed classrooms, there would be a different policy. Or for students that need to use their phones to help them with their education, there would be a different policy. It's variants for all of our students within different classrooms.
I agree. I think it's just appropriate use and knowing when it's appropriate and when it's not, and then it's not always going to be uniform, and that it's up to teachers and school staff to decide that.
Questions? Discussion? Andrew?
I do have one, and I did mention this to, the superintendent as well, and this, I'm gonna hold very firmly to this point. So as initially presented, there was a reference to phones, being confiscated if there was misuse of the phone, and that it would be kept until retrieved by the parent or guardian. And I think that's a mistake, and I think we need to revisit that. We don't know, there's no other punishment that we do that's taking away the personal property of students for an indeterminate amount of time. We don't know what emergency or situation that student might have. We don't know what work situation that student might have. We don't know what ability a family has to come get a phone between 3 and 4 p.m. And with the exception of an event that was so serious that a phone would have to be turned over to law enforcement, which becomes a whole different scenario. I would hope that whatever we come up with, I'm not saying that there might be some further restriction on phone privileges if it's abused during class repeatedly, but I think I don't want to see us holding any phones after school hours. I don't think it's in the district's best interest to hold on to a phone ever, and I hope to see that not in the final policy.
Ms. Meyer?
Ms. Olson, can you join us? When we know better, we do better. And Mr. Becker brought up a very important point that maybe in the old days that was an appropriate way to handle a situation, but when we know better, we do better. What do you think, Ms. Olson?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. And when we know better, we do better. I've reached out and talked with our, using my cell phone to text with our principals today. And they agree and concur that there can be other ways if there are students that are abusing the cell phone policy rather than keeping a phone out of the hands of a student at the end of a school day. Other privileges that students have throughout their day can be negotiated if cell phones are the issue, and also involving parents in that conversation about engagement in the classroom and why it's important that the cell phone's off and away, and partnering with parents to help, and families, partnering with parents and families to come up with a plan that would work both for school and home, so that the cell phone is accessible to the student when they need it, but that they can focus on instruction and learning when they're in the classroom.
Andrew?
Just to be clear, I certainly think there could be some kind of a situation where if there were, repeated uses of the instructional time, perhaps, and I wouldn't see this as being a first offense kind of thing, but perhaps other than, perhaps instead of checking your phone each period with your teacher, maybe if there have been repeated violations, maybe for a week you have to check it in the office in the morning and retrieve it at the end of the day. So you have lost some of that privilege, but there's still, we just, I don't want to be the one thinking about what might have been if something awful happened and a student didn't have their phone and it was after the end of the day.
Other questions or discussion? Alex?
So you're just wanting to make sure that the requirement that we have had, that at a certain point, there was a point where parents would have to come in, you specifically want that part out. But it sounds like if a kid is having such an issue where they needed it removed throughout the course of the day, they would be able to get it back at the end of the day. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, I think there will be students who demonstrate that they can't handle having the phone on and off throughout the day during passing time, and hopefully might need a little bit more of a nudge to catch on. But otherwise, yeah, phones are kept at the end of the day. First of all, I don't want our staff to have to worry about responsibility for them, for one, and then second, it becomes a weird situation where, if mom and dad are both working night shift on Friday, you've now lost your phone for 4 days by virtue of it happened on Friday. But if you did the same thing on Thursday, they could have come at 3 and picked it up. So, but yes, it doesn't mean no consequences. It means just not that one, the overnight.
Anything else? Yeah, so we'll bring this back in June and we'll make it for action after we do some edits. Thank you very much for your input and your information. Okay, so we're going to move on to section 4, the consent agenda. Will someone please read the motion? Lynn?
I move that the consent agenda items as presented be approved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions? Lindsay?
Online voting is now open. Alex and Lynn, are you able to vote online?
Yeah, I'm getting, I just have to get there again. I wasn't logged in.
Alex, do you want a voice vote for this one? Can you just turn on the mic and
Yep. Say aye.
all votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Thank you. We're going to move on to section 6, action. Item A. Laura, will you please read the motion?
I move that upon the passage, signing, and effective date of the 2025-27 Wisconsin state budget, the district shall bring a recommendation to the Board of Education regarding the advancement of staff on salary schedules, for example, steps, as presented be approved.
Second.
Okay, open the floor for discussion. Questions? Andrew?
So my concern about this, I'm going to vote no. We've never touched the steps before. And I don't think anyone intends to touch the steps, the salary steps. If anything, and I don't think this will happen, but if something wildly different than what's expected happens to the state budget, I still don't think anyone intends to touch the salary steps. I think it would be, something would come off on the come lower on the CPI before we would touch the steps. And I don't see what is gained in touching a leg of the stool, so to speak, that hasn't been touched before. I don't think there's going to be any harm because I don't think we're going to do it in the end. But the fact is, getting your step and then understanding that after the state budget, there might be some retroactive pay because we can't give you that cost of living adjustment until the state budget. That's a normal thing. People expect that. It's happened for years, waiting for negotiation and or for the state budget. And I'm okay with that piece. I just do not like to see it being applied to the steps. I don't think anything's gained here.
Thank you. Other discussion?
Yes. Can I take the opportunity to withdraw from this conversation
Sure.
due to a conflict of interest?
That's
for this
on me.
particular
I should have let you know. Thanks, Alex. Oh, Jeanette.
Okay, I just want to clarify because I think this is what we're voting on, what was discussed, that we're not removing the steps. We're just saying if the state budget isn't approved, if we don't know the money that's coming in, just as we're going to hold the cost of living increase, we're also going to hold the step increase. We're not talking about eliminating the step increases. We're just talking about holding it so we have cash flow. It's basically, I can't pay that bill, so I'm going to call my electric company and say, I'm not going to get paid for another 2 weeks. I need to hold this. And then I'm going to pay. I mean, am I describing it well? Am I understanding what we're trying to do here?
I would describe it a little differently. So the first part of it was correct. We're not tonight taking a vote to eliminate steps for a year. We're just saying that we would not pay steps until the budget is approved and we have an assessment of what the gap and what our actual deficit is. So we could use our reserve funds so we don't have a cash flow issue. But what it is as we look at the next 2 years, if that gap remains what it is, there are two large portions of money, steps and CPI, which together, give us the opportunity to bridge that gap. So I'm going to vote yes because I don't want to take an option off the table, right? So I absolutely understand Andrew's position, but from my perspective, I look at this and I don't want to prematurely take something off and out of the equation.
Okay, then I'm understanding it the way that we had discussed, that steps are still going to exist. CPI is still going to exist, but we need to wait to find out what we're getting from the state before we actually pay that forward. They are going to get paid their step increases if we get the amount of money from the state.
Andrew, let Lynn go first. She hasn't talked. Yeah.
My interpretation was that we have to hold open the possibility that there will not be a step increase if, depending on the state budget. Am I wrong?
Oh, sure. It is an expenditure, right? That is large enough where, given our deficit, we should make sure that we have that money to spend before we spend it, right? Andrew.
Yeah, so there are, not doing steps would be so catastrophic that there would be so many things that I would do first that to some people would seem much more dramatic in nature, but before, there's just so many things that I think would need to be, if we didn't pay the steps, like in the worst year, we still did we freeze the steps the 1 year after Act 10? I don't think we even did it then. I think we did the step but no raise on the base. I think that was a long time ago, and you weren't involved in the decision. So steps are just so, but there have been a couple years of there has been a zero increase. That was after Act 10. There's been a less than 1% increase, I think, in a very low inflation year. So these things are part of the established process, and I think to touch the steps would be catastrophic to do, and I don't think a majority of the board in the end would probably do it. I think they would cut something else, and so why create I just don't like to open that door. So where James doesn't want to take it off the table if we got a catastrophic answer from the state budget, I would not want to open that door even if we did get a catastrophic answer from the state budget. That's, I think, the two differences of opinion here.
Agreed. Lynn.
And so, do I understand correctly that if we do have a catastrophic answer from the state, we would be possibly not giving step increases for one fiscal year? Not that we are ending the step increase program, right?
Correct. Andrew.
I mean, if this,
Well,
if we didn't do, if this fails, if the no vote prevails on this, then the steps will happen.
correct.
And the CPI would still be determined later, still be to be determined. So that's why this exists. So.
Yeah. Jeanette.
All we're talking is delaying the steps here. We're making the assumption that things are going to be provided by the state that's needed. And as you have said, Andrew, the steps wouldn't be removed in my head and with my vote. I would vote yes on this now to delay the steps, but in no way would I want to eliminate the steps. And if it was a catastrophic thing, I agree with you. Other things would be looked at, not eliminating the steps. So I just think that this is a way to keep things flowing a little bit better and not having to go, potentially not having to go in that reserve fund.
Other questions? Okay, then I'll put it to vote. Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried. The results of the individual board member votes are as follows. Becker, no. McCoy, yes. Lyerly, yes. Gerlach, yes. Minot, abstained. And Cannell, yes.
Thank you. Can we invite Alex back? Thank you, Alex. Okay, we're going to move on to 6B. Laura, will you read the motion, please?
I move that Northeast Asphalt Inc. be awarded the bid for general site construction at Aldo Leopold Community School and Baird Elementary School in the amount of $304,065.74 as presented be approved.
Second.
Discussion? Questions? Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Okay, moving on to 6C. Laura, will you read the motion, please?
I'm sorry, we should always do this at the beginning of these votes, just to remind people that all these things were discussed at length in our last meeting. And we can all choose to discuss it further at this meeting too, but this isn't the first time we've talked about these items.
Thank you.
I move that IEI General Contractors be awarded the bid for the general contractor renovations project at Martin Elementary School in the amount of $780,635 as presented be approved.
Second.
Discussions? Questions? Kinsey?
Online voting open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Thank you. Moving to 6D. Andrew, would you please read the motion?
I move that revisions to Board of Education policies and rules in the 300 series policies related to teaching and learning as presented be approved.
Second.
Discussions? Alex?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm seeing this correctly. I tried looking earlier. I don't know if I saw if some of the documents weren't uploaded correctly or if I was misreading them. So I just want to verify one thing quick.
Would you like David to come to the table?
Sure, that might be a good
Yeah.
idea. It might speed it up.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so the revised red line, sorry, the revised red line has the part regarding assessments, regarding, sorry, class participation and daily assessments cannot be used and grade determination. And then,
I'm sorry, Alex, are you talking about 345.3? Oh, 0.1.
345.1.
Thank you.
Yep, sorry. And then I just want to make sure it says except as set forth, and then you did include, for performance-based standards, and then in parentheses, those that require speaking, moving, responding, etc. That is in the revised red line. When I tried earlier to click on the clean one, I don't know if it was coming up correctly. Is that in the new clean one? It looks like that part would have been included, correct?
Yes, essentially here you're seeing a revision of a revision. And so in the clean one that we're asking you to act on tonight, that section 3 subpoint B that itemizes those performance-based areas would be in the policy that you'll be voting on.
Okay, because when I click on the clean one, and again, this could be my error, it is just a one-page short thing that doesn't include a rewritten clean version of that.
I was going to say, I don't find the clean one.
Okay. So that's where I just wanted to make sure. It looks like it was a revised red line, and it is in there, but I just wanted to make sure it's in the new clean one.
It absolutely is. And we appreciate the conversation last that led to this update.
And I also want to express my gratitude for the feedback because I think it's valid. And I think it's also something that I know a lot of teachers, ultimately it's good practice for their particular content area. So thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Any other questions or concerns? Discussion. Alex.
Sorry, that's for one of the next items.
All right. So then I'm going to close the floor and let's vote.
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Thank you. We're moving to 6E. Andrew, would you please read the motion?
I'll move that Board of Education policies and rules and the 300 series policies related to technology as presented be repealed.
Second.
Discussion, questions? Okay. Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Thank you. Let's move to 6F. Andrew, read the motion, please.
I move the revisions to Board of Education policies and rules in the 300 series policies related to technology as presented be approved.
Second.
Okay, discussion, questions? Okay, Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Moving to 6G. Andrew?
I'll move that revisions to the Board of Education policies and rules in the 400 series policies related to pupil services as presented be approved.
Second.
Discussion, questions? Alex?
I just want to again express my gratitude for listening to the feedback that was provided and making what I think was a helpful necessary change for rare but possible circumstances. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kinsey, we're ready to vote?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
And 6H, Andrew.
I move that the Board of Education policies and rules in the 400 series related to pupil services as presented be approved,
Repealed?
repealed.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion, questions? Andrew.
Just to refresh my memory, is this because these things have all rolled back up into the policy of the same topic? Okay, making sure.
Other questions or concerns? Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Okay. And with that, we've come to the end of the agenda. I will just make another statement at the end. Any board members wanting agenda items, please, everyone knows how to do it. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
You have been watching the Green Bay Area Public School District's Board of Education meeting. Please visit the school district's website, www.gbaps.org, for more information on the district and future meeting dates. If you cannot fully access the information on this video, please let us know the accessibility issue you are having by calling 920-448-2025 or by email at communications@gbaps.org. We will try to provide the information to you in an alternative format and/or make the necessary improvements to make the information accessible.